I want to write a function which takes two inputs, a vector and a number, and as output returns how many times does that number appear in the vector. So for example, if my vector v has 1 in it 6 times, then the output would be the number 6, saying 6 times. So let's do that. It's a function, so I go up to new function. Okay, let's call this, how about counting fn for function? And this has two inputs. I'll call it v for the vector, and how about r for the number? And for the output, I'll call it c. And I get to choose these however I want. They don't matter. Okay, just as long as I use them consistently when I write the function. So how do I do this? This is something that would have been difficult to do before we learned about for loops. I want to go through each item in the vector v, each element in the vector, and check, is that element equal to r? Okay, and this is a shape of a function that we're going to use a lot. It's going to be a for loop, and then for each step in the for loop, we're going to test true or false. Does that element equal r? Okay, so we have two different ways we could do this. I could say something like for I equals 1 to length of v. Okay, but that's not the most elegant way to do it. The most elegant way to do it is for x equals v. And remember, that's like saying x is going to go 1 by 1 through each entry in v. And it's a for loop, so it has to finish with the word end, E-N-D. So there's my for loop. And then I want to know, does x equal r? So if x, remember to use two equal signs. If x equals r, and then if x is equal to r, then I want to increase the value of c by 1. Okay, so you should be very familiar with this syntax, c equals c plus 1. Okay, that's like saying make c 1 bigger. Okay, then I finish the if statement with the word end also. And right now this would cause an error. Why? Because the first time it tries to increase c by 1, it'll get an error because it'll say there's no value for c. Okay, it's not initialized to anything. So at the very beginning out here, I should set c equal to 0. And notice that these lines that are by themselves, that don't start with a for or an if, those I end with a semicolon. These lines that start with an if or start with some keyword, like here it starts with for, those lines I don't have to end with a semicolon. So this is my function. Let me save it. And let me go back to the command window and try running it. So I'll go to counting function. So it's good that I didn't name it count because there's already a built-in function called count. Okay, counting function. It's supposed to take two inputs. It's nice that I named it v and r, so this tells me the first input is supposed to be a vector, second input is supposed to be the number. Okay, not because v always has to be a vector, but just that's how I named it. So in my head, when I see v, I think, okay, that should be a vector. And let's choose, how about 1, 3, 3, 8, 3, 3. And then let's count how often 3 occurs. So I'm hoping that this returns the value of 4, because 3 appears in there 4 times. Yep, that worked. And I'm glad that I didn't see any extra lines printed here. If I saw extra lines printed here before I got to the answer, that would be a sign that I forgot a semicolon somewhere. Let's try a couple more. How about, let's count how often 8 occurs. Occurs once, perfect. Let's try one that doesn't occur. How about pi? Yep. Okay, so that seems like it's working well. So now what I want to do, I'm going to close this function off, and I'm going to make a new function. So the way we just made our counting function, that was very similar to how we would make it in other programming languages. This way I'm going to make it here. This way is going to be much more specific to MATLAB. MATLAB really cares about vectors and matrices, and it's really optimized in its use of vectors and matrices. So I'm going to take advantage of some of that optimization in writing this function. So I'm going to call it counting function 2. Okay, exact same inputs, exact same output. So how does it work? Well, let me remind you some things. Say I write v equal to this 133833. And say I did v equals 3. Okay, remember that gives me a 1 everywhere that it's equal to 3. And so a cool thing I can do is I can do sum of this. So that's going to add up all of those 1s that showed up. So it's like what's inside the parentheses is this length 6 vector you see here, and then the sum that says add them up. Okay, so there I get 4. So how can I do it? I can do it really easily. I can do it all on one line. I'm going to do sum v equals r. Okay, finish it with a semicolon. Now I save it. Now I go back to the command window. Let's just go back to some of those things I already did, but I need to change the name to counting function 2 from counting function. Okay, that one still worked. What if I count for 1? Yep, that still works. What if I count for 8? Yep, that still works. What if I count for pi? Yep, that still works. Pi doesn't occur in here, so the count is 0. So there's a very specific to MATLAB way of writing this counting function. The first way we did it, that's like a general programming way using for loops and if statements.